Welcome to Pass It On, Connecting Soul to Soul, a podcast introducing you to courageous souls. These people are taking their spark in life and passing it on, lighting their corner of the world. I'm your host, Tammy Sturr, best-selling author, speaker, and CEO of Author My Day, a company inspiring courage. I interview people about how they exercise their courage muscle and use their story to inspire you to live with a courageous heart. Let's get started with today's guest. Steve is the director of Wild Heart Teacher and Corporate Cultural Personal Development for JRI Hospitality. In addition to being a middle school principal and superintendent for over 30 years, Steve is sought after to speak across our nation on issues dealing with education, corporate leadership, employee revitalization, connection and motivation, relationships, and more connection, as well as culture and climate. Steve is the author of the book, Heart to Heart Teaching, Building an Enduring Legacy in the Lives of Our Kids. Educators across the nation are using this book as a support to power the relationship of learning and life. In his third year as principal, Steve was named the Kansas Middle School Principal of the Year. He has been the recipient of the $25,000 Milken National Educator Award and inducted into a few different Educator Hall of Fames. Steve most recently served as superintendent of Woodland Park. Steve has devoted his time now to Wild Heart Teacher, which focuses on building up teachers' hearts, minds, and relationships to continue to make a huge difference in the lives of our kids, leading the nation and leading the nationwide corporate culture for the JR Hospitality Corporation. And I don't want to miss that Steve was tied for first place in first grade for his field day competition in the 30-yard dash. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. I ran the whole thing. I didn't even take a break.
The whole 30 yards.
Here's the funny part is my dad took me up to practice running the 30-yard dash. And he said, on your mark, get set, and say, go, and I take off. And so it's the very first race today because I'm first grade. And they're on your mark, get set, and boom, they shut the gun off. Well, no one said go. And so I'm waiting for them to say go. And everybody else taking off. Well, I better go. And people started screaming to go. And then I took off and caught up. But,
oh my gosh, that is great. So, Steve, explain to us a little bit about what Wild Heart Teacher is and the impact it is having.
You bet. So, I really noticed in 2020, teachers are having a hard time before the pandemic. It seems like the respect for educators and the work that they do and the love they have for kids, it was just, it was not happening. It was going downhill. And, they are professionals, they're trained. They go in there and constantly questioned by people who have no idea what they're supposed to be doing. And so 2020 happened, and March 17th, 2020, I had the pleasure of shutting down schools. And then we had told our teachers that, we can do this online. And so we're going to train you to do that. So we gave all the teachers about 35 minutes worth of training to teach online. And no one knew what they were doing, and no one did it well. And but the parents kind of wanted their kids occupied somehow. And so that was March 17th. By about April 3rd, about this year, 4 years ago, teachers across America were heroes. Thank God. How do you do it? I just want to kill my kid. I just want all that stuff. And then we had teachers having to teach, and they had their kids at home learning online, and with probably not enough broadband and everything else. So it was really hard. And then when this next school year started and kids weren't back, all of a sudden it was the teacher's fault. And it wasn't their fault at all. It had nothing to do with it, but they wanted to blame somebody. And teachers for years now had been an easy target, so they targeted them. And it was a sad thing to see. And so I dreamed about doing something like Wild Heart Teacher for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And a series of events came together where it was the perfect time and the perfect place to do it. So I just put it together, and I have a camp a half mile from my house that wasn't being used a whole lot, and it had a wonderful new director, Zach Walker, and I went over to Zach's house with a couple dozen chocolate chip cookies, and said I got an idea, and he had never even met me yet. So so but I knew, I heard, so I brought cookies. I bribed him right away, and he said yes because I brought cookies, and he we set this thing up, and we found 6 weeks that were open, and so I just advertised. I didn't have a budget for this thing, so I've got a larger following on Facebook. So I figure if I put it out there, I'll get some people to come, and because I do get around the nation, some people know me, and so I put it out there, and I just charged teachers $50, and for $50, here's what happens: is I don't pay for transportation, but I'll transport them from the airport, and to and from. But other than that, they get there on their own. But they come and they stay at camp. I like to joke around that it's a middle school camp for teachers, and because it's kind of big dorm bunk areas and stuff, and it's great. Um, and then we feed them, and we try to feed them great food. And, we have a steak night the second night every time, and we have um, a snack table that's ridiculous. We ask every person that comes what your favorite snack is and what your favorite drink is. And then we have that there when they get there. We have a big walk in cooler for the drinks, and then we have a snack table that ridiculous is the only word I can think of. It's just crazy. And people just sit there and graze. And what's funny though, some people put down, oh, my favorite snack, I love vegetables and dip. And I know to buy a container about that big of vegetables and dip because it ain't going to get touched. Yeah, the Reese's go like that, but not the vegetables and dip. Whoever orders it never touches it either. So, uh, and then we have some amazing speakers come in, people that speak around the country and know teachers and know what we're trying to do. And so we go 3 days of that, and and we have all kinds of great activities. This last year they had choices. We have a long segment during the day where they can choose painting and fishing, equine therapy, go soak in the hot springs. There's 3 different hikes that are beautiful they get to choose from. Um, just a myriad of things for them to choose from, and so and we always have those, and they go off on their big adventure, and they come back and have stories to tell, and and then the second night we also have karaoke, uh, which um, everyone in karaoke that has been there has been equally bad, and it was just terrible. And lately, the teachers that have been around a while start picking up on they're line dancing and all kinds of crazy things. So it's wonderful. But the goal is to bring teachers together. We do an amazing job of making sure kids are seen, heard, and loved. But we just stink at doing that for one another. We get behind that door, and teaching can be pretty lonely. And so we wanted to make sure that they start to learn how to support each other. And so that first year, we've done it since. We will continue. We break it down into 4 different parts. The first part is connection, to be able to build relationships with someone. So we have teachers coming in from 41 different states this year.
Wow.
And so they're going to have a network across the nation of teachers that they're going to have an opportunity to get close to. And so, and we talk about the importance of that. We go through some activities, and there's some of them we ask people not to share because there's a couple of them we're going to do every year, and those who have done it before, we ask them to sit back and watch and give their observation of what happens. But that connection piece is huge. And the second thing we do is release. The last few years have cost us something. It it has been painful for a lot of people to go through. Well, if you hang on to that and just keep it in, it'll kill you. And so our second part is release, letting it go, and so we have a couple speakers on that, and then we have a little ceremony, a release ceremony that's pretty cool after steak and before karaoke, and And then the third part is believe, and believing what you do matters. What you do is going to make a difference. It's going to last on long after you're gone from this world. What you do here matters. And the last part is rise. It's kind of being the phoenix. Let's take things to new levels. And that's how we finish our day at 2 o'clock on the last day. And you know from going through that it's we've had a few different. There's some ceremonies. There's some things that we do to go through that are that bring people together, and that's what we strive to do. And so that first year, I didn't know. I just paid for the thing out of my pocket, and so it cost about 50 grand, and I can't do that every year, and it's but I couldn't expect anybody else to put money into it. They
Hmm.
wasn't going to, and so the second year, I money that I really want to pour. I can't pour another 50,000 into it. So I had a friend named Greg Case, who's the CEO of Aon Corporation, and he called me and said, "Steve, how much does it cost to do that?" I said, "Greg, this year I budgeted 48,000, and he sent 50,000,
Wow.
and he's up sending 50, and he's done that every year since. We have a wonderful farmer from Southwest Kansas. She lives in Kansas, named Donnie Young. He believes in what we're doing. He sends us 10,000 a year. There's the FinUp Foundation sent us 10 last year. They may send us 20 this year. The Reed Foundation in Garden City sent 10,000. We've had several teachers drop 100 on us. We've had one teacher who's a Milken Award winner from Kansas that now lives in Colorado. She sent 1,000. It's so we have people investing in it. So that pays for what we're doing. And as far as my pay to be able to keep me going, I had a student from my first year as a principal. I was a 27-year-old kid, and he was a junior in high school. And he's a pretty good basketball player. And I was still kind of an athlete. Didn't have much of a knee left, but I played ball at K State football, and so we go about every weekend and play one-on-one basketball and just beat each other up and build a relationship that way. And so now he is an amazing businessman. He has uh, somewhere between 80 and 100 Freddy's restaurants across the nation, from Philly to California. To he has uh, golf courses, country clubs. He owns all the Chompies in Arizona, Original Grandes. Yeah, just an amazing guy. But he pours money back into wherever he is. Salina, Kansas benefits greatly from Jason Ingermanson being there. Jason got a hold of me and said, "Could you do this for my corporation?" And I said, "Sure." So we have corporate events for him where we bring him in and we do basically the same thing that we do for teachers. And he takes care of making sure I have money to live, to eat, whatever. He takes care of all that. And he does it because he knows he makes it isn't so much his corporation, which I'm sure he appreciates, but he knows he's making a difference in the lives of teachers, and he loves teachers. In fact, most of his best friends are teachers or former teachers,
Hmm.
and that he hangs out with. And so, uh, so Jason, anytime you eat at Freddy's, chances are you're supporting Wild Heart Teacher, and
Very cool.
that's a pretty good deal.
So you just mentioned the people that are donating financially, but you also have volunteers that come on their own dime and
almost
volunteer back.
everything is volunteer. We have volunteers. First year, Kevin Honeycutt, who charges 7,000 every time he steps on your stage, he did all of them for free,
Wow.
and just stepped in and did that. And we have Patty, who does our cooking. She is a hoot. She was cooking for Kiwanis. She's a member of Kiwanis, and I'm a member of Kiwanis. And I told Kiwanis what I was going to do, and she comes up to me. She looks at me and she goes, "I'm doing your food." I said, "All right," and so she does an amazing job. She plans all the menus. She goes buys the food. She loads the food. She hands me, "Here's the receipts." We pay her back, and she gets no money for that.
Wow.
And she makes a difference in the lives of teachers, and she won't miss. She is a walking, talking angel. Well, we have a lot of people who've come in and volunteered, and so that's the key to what we do. We can't afford to pay anybody.
So
But
what difference do these people see that makes them want to invest their time, their money, their energy? What difference do they see?
They see the change in the heart of an educator, someone who came in beat up and down, ready to go when they get out of here. And they see them come back. A lot of them come back year after year, and but they know they're making a difference. It's like in the believe part. They believe that what they're doing is going to make a difference to last all long after they're gone. You can't expect a teacher to light a fire under if theirs is out, or to fill a cup if theirs is empty, and they get to help fill that cup, and they get to help light that fire. And and we're to the point now. My mortality is not lost on me. I'm now 61 old, and so that is that's not getting younger. So someone has to be able to take this on when I'm gone, and so I'm starting to look now. Who do I have as my young guns in their 30s, um, that I can start getting ready? So if I get hit by a truck, it doesn't end. Things keep going. And
Legacy is huge
oh,
when you
it
start
is.
something like this.
Otherwise, it just yeah, our life is so brief. Why don't we do things that last long after we're gone? And I hope this. It would be really cool 50 years from now. This is still happening, and someone who started this junk anyway. Whose idea? I don't know. I know some superintendent somewhere, and that would be perfect. That's fine. And
Absolutely.
keep going.
Huh. So is there other dreams that you're chasing for Wild Heart, or anything
Yeah,
you want to do in
part of it
addition to it?
is, yeah, we expanded it to this year 45 to be able to go. That's not near enough. We filled that up in 22 days. Filled one session up overnight, first night. Um, we have a huge need out there. We feel like that we have an answer to a lot of what educators need. I would love to be able to pour tons more salary in, but most of my educators I know would just settle for respect and support, and so that would be great. They'll trade some money for that, and so we need to figure out how to do this nationally. We need beautiful spots to draw people into. I think that's important. Um, we did one in Michigan that way. They had us come up, and we went in, and they rented a big camp, and they had everybody in the district that wanted to go come out to stay at the camp for a couple of days, and we did a Wild Heart teacher right out there. And so
Nice.
maybe that's a model. I I'd like to go and do one in Jersey. We did a day one for the middle school in Woodland Park. And that district right now, it is sad right now, and those teachers needed it, and so we spent a day with them. And another is the Reeve Foundation. No, not the Reeve. The Finna Foundation said, we'd like to give you some money, but we want you to consider, and we want to talk about someday, what if we did this for first responders?
Mm.
Uh, and so we've not had that conversation yet. Now, when you brought up nurses, what an amazing thing to be able to do for nurses. What if you could do for people who are hospice nurses? I mean, holy cow! That those people need. So many people need what we're doing. We've
Hmm.
had some ministers come. That's a pretty lonely profession at times too,
Uh-huh.
uh, and that's probably a good start as well. Having come, this is not a religious base. Well, people think it is because it's at a Methodist camp. Well, that just happened to be the camp that's a half mile from my house, and they're wonderful. The Methodist Church is wonderful letting us lease it, and to be able to do that. But it's I think we probably need to start thinking nationally. And I'm not your Sunday school teacher here, but I just know that every, every time I have a need to get this stuff going, God answers. Man, it just is there, and it, just in time delivery, and so it's those are some things I'm considering to be able to get going, and I'm going to go hard. I'm going to do this. I'm never going to retire. I'm going to do this till I drop. I'll be on a hike someday. I kick the bucket. Just kick me off the trail. Let's keep this thing going, and so we'll be good. And
And you have such a secret sauce, and you gave us the main components of it.
yeah,
But going through this myself, like confessing, I was just excited to go hang out with my best friend, right?
Oh yeah,
And what I received out of it, I didn't see coming at all.
good.
And I think that's part of that secret sauce. And when you talk about, there's kind of this place where you go into this reflection. And for me, it's kind of like, why is a person burnt out? And kind of examining that.
Yeah,
And then literally it was kind of like going down into the ashes. And then that last day, I had already started rising, like my Phoenix had already started rising. And then your real secret ingredient in that secret sauce, that last day blew me away.
yeah.
And I mean, that was more than the Phoenix rising. That was the Phoenix spreading its wings to gift the world whatever they have.
How was that Ear Candy Express for you?
I just, I think the dream that you've already started chasing is just going to benefit where we're at in our education. There were teachers I talked to the first day that were burnout, not sure if they're going to stay in the profession. And by the last day, their heart was full and they are ready to go fill the hearts of kids, just like
Yeah,
you say the impact
yeah.
is.
It's really. I think we've lost 5 teachers. That's it. Out of all the ones that have come, the goal is to keep them in the profession and get them ready to go. And I think 5 is the number of candidates that are no longer in the profession or didn't
Wow.
age out. I mean, all of us, sooner or
Yeah.
later, it's like, dude, let a young gun have your spot.
So let's talk a little bit about your career because this is all about courage. So
Okay.
you've made some big career shifts in life. Tell us a little bit about when you had to exercise your courage muscle and
Uh,
step out of fear to make some career shifts.
so here's the funny thing. I was thinking about that. That sometimes when you're young, you don't know you can't do it,
Mm.
so you do it. When I go on, I taught 4 years. I to go be a principal. Um, really, come on, But I didn't know I couldn't, so I did. And when I started teaching, I remember when I got interviewed by Chuck Sodergren, who's a legend in Topeka, the Seaman District, amazing man. But he interviewed me for a teaching job, and it's for social studies, and they're Logan Junior High, and he said, Steve, are you licensed? Are you certified to teach social studies? I said, well, not yet. I can't be. I accidentally got a degree in speech and drama. That's a whole other story. Um, but I can be by the end of the summer. Okay. Well, we need a head football coach. Have you ever coached football? Coached it? No, I've never coached football. I know it pretty well. I've played it, but it's okay. Well, we need a head track coach. You ever coach track? No, no, I hadn't done that. Done a lot of it, but no. Well, we need a 8th grade boys basketball coach. You ever coach basketball? No. Okay, you're hired. I taught social studies. I was head football, head track, and 8th grade boys basketball. And but I didn't know I couldn't do it. And so a lot of times, if that doubt isn't there, you go. And then when you get a little older, and it's where can I make a difference? And I think a lot of Covey, uh, he talks about working within your sphere of influence. So the more effective you are within your sphere of influence, the more it grows. But if you're working outside your sphere of influence, nothing happens. I can walk up and down the street here with a "Save the Whale" sign all day long, but it ain't gonna make a difference because that's not my sphere. It's not in my wheelhouse. I got to find the place where it works for me. And so, the more successful I was in the area, it gave me more confidence to go ahead and move to the next area. I when I decided to be a superintendent, I let people know I was going to go be a superintendent and resign my principal job. And did I have a superintendent job? No, but I was going to go do that. And and I did. And ended up in Heston, Kansas, and kind of took off from there. But it was really sometimes you just got to jump, and you may not land where you think you're going to land, but it may be okay. You know, a lot of what we do with Wild Heart Teacher wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had some tragedy happen. I adopted a young man, and Chris died, and that impacted me greatly. And I didn't handle it well at all. And because I didn't handle it well, things started happening. To all of a sudden, next thing you know, one thing leads to another. It seems like a tragedy, but it's not. It's Wild Art Teacher, and it wouldn't have happened had Chris not passed. And I'd like to trade that all back for Chris, but that ain't gonna happen. So this is kind of his accidental legacy, anyway. And I kind of feel like I forced Gump my way into a whole lot of things in life, and this may be one of them.
I think one of those things that when we're not um getting what do I want to say? When we're not following the leader of where we're pulled to where we're supposed to be operating on our sphere of
Yeah,
influence, it's
yeah,
amazing how many times we have to get kicked to
yeah.
kind of get us there.
Oh, it's just yeah. If we just do what we're supposed to in the first place, and we as human beings don't, as teachers we don't, as principals. By the way, everybody at the Wild Heart Teacher is for staffily. That's everybody that makes a difference in the lives, that cares whether kids are seen, heard, and loved, that works in a school. We've had custodians, we've had superintendents, we have principals, we have bus drivers, we have teachers, we have you name it. I think I shared with you guys that it was the year before you were there. Um, we had our first bus driver, Diane Lamia. Diane's from Boynton, Kansas, and Diane was the educator of the year in her school district as a bus driver.
Wow.
So think about the difference she was making.
Right? Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about
So
changing a culture.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She understood that she's the first one they see and the last one they see, and she begged to drive all the um, routes for the games and stuff because she loved cheering on the kids. And I mean, her husband had passed away that year,
Mm,
and the whole, whew, all the teams came to the people.
very cool.
Yeah,
So, which amazes me that you're a superintendent. So when I think of superintendent, I think very business side, paperwork side of things. And
take
then
yourself too serious.
I'm like, you are such a people person.
Oh, well, thank you. I, I, uh, I love being a principal. Middle school principal was a blast. It's my maturity level. It's where I fit in, and I love going to conferences where the principals were because they were fun. Oh my goodness, we go to those conferences. I was in my 30s. You know, we never before 2 in the morning shut it down. You know, we were having a blast and just. And then I started going to superintendent's conferences. Oh, I might as well go to a mortician's conference. It was like, come on, you guys. And I knew you when you were a principal. What happened to you? Where did you lose it? You know, because the you that was a principal, you put you that as a superintendent. Now we're talking. You're going to change some things and make a difference. And so I think so many superintendents get lost in trying to be businesslike, and I got to wear my tie, and look how important I am, and it doesn't work well. I don't think. I know most big district school superintendents do that, and it makes me laugh at them. Say, dude, you're taking yourself too serious.
So let's talk about kids. How do
Okay.
you teach courage to kids?
I think to teach courage to kids, you got to put them in situations that they're afraid. You can't be brave without fear, and otherwise, it's just doing what you're doing. Uh, but to have courage to do something, you got to put yourself out there a little bit. When I started Wild Heart Teacher, okay, how much is it going to cost me? God, $50,000. Oh, okay, and here we go. And that put a little fear in me because that's money I'd never see again. And it's it was, and so we put kids in a situation where that they have just a little bit of a fear. My 2-year-old granddaughter lives with us, and she's amazing. And she goes to a program every morning, every Monday morning called Kid Strong. And what they do is they're swinging on bars and they're jumping from one thing to another, and they're doing things that they've never done. And and there's a little fear there, and they get to overcome that fear. And the Latin motto is "Yes, I can," and even though it's scary doing that, and so stepping out there, you made the career changes. I mean, you wonder, is that what I want to do? And some of it you have to determine time factor and what's important to you. I was listening to a person the other day that was a very, very successful musician, and he was talking about another very successful musician. He goes, "Man, this guy's amazing because he just does concerts when he wants to, or he just writes new music or puts out albums when he wants to." And so I asked him, he goes, "How do you do that?" And he goes, "Well, he goes, I can make a lot more money." He goes, "But then I wouldn't have time with my family and be able to raise my kids." So he goes, "You got to get comfortable with making less money." And when he got comfortable with making less money, it freed him up continually to build other things. And so um, that takes some courage. And so with kids, to put them in a situation, uh, that's why I love athletics. That's You're going out there on your own. Wrestlers, I don't get that. Basketball, I had someone to blame it on. Wrestling, you don't. You're just counting tiles, and it's and that takes courage, and that's good. I look at your book behind you, um, the dog Jack's find his talent, and to do that, you have to find your talent. Sometimes you have to find things you're not so great at, and that's okay. That's part of the journey and of courage. And I think people say you either succeed or you learn, and sometimes the bigger the screw up, the better the story. And so you might as well go for it. And I've had a lot of stories that I've been able to build over the years, but kids, to be able to encourage them to be able to do that, and as teachers, sometimes they will count on us to catch them, and we do. And and little kids just jump off slipper slide at you, and you catch them, and because they have no reason to believe you won't catch them,
Yeah.
and so and so we put them in a situation to do that, but you got to fall a couple times. You gotta let them skin that knee. You gotta let them get a bloody lip. That's all part of that learning process, and we do it in relationships. Think about the relationships that we go through, and they come and go, and it's painful, and it's wonderful, and all those things. And so I think put kids in a situation where they can fail. It's
Yeah.
just fun. One
Absolutely.
other little class that we had, Anthony Siraj, who teaches our fishing.
Hmm.
Um, Anthony started a class called Seekers when he was a teacher, and it was for the gifted kids and it was based on Gardner's seven, now eight intelligences, and he put them in a situation where they got to fail at every one of those intelligences. So these kids, all they did at school was succeed. We're gifted, we do everything, and they got to do painting, and they got to do music, and they got to cross country ski and try to fly fish, and they were terrible at all of that, and they learned to laugh at themselves and appreciate the strengths that other people have that are gifts that aren't necessarily school related. So,
Right.
uh, but he put them in a situation where they could fail safely.
I think it's really interesting when I always thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And it
Yeah,
had to do with something that happened early in my life with the family farm and stuff like that.
yeah,
It was more like fighting for the underdog, right? Is where it was
yeah.
coming from. And every time I pursued that, like, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a 3-time college flunk out. I flunked out of every university in Nebraska. And it wasn't until like I
Three.
stopped trying to do something I wasn't made to do and like pursued my passion for teaching and communication and leadership that it's like, oh yeah, here's your world, Tammy. This is what you were supposed to live in.
Yeah, and I think the word you threw out there is passion.
Mhm.
Yeah, what are you passionate about? And usually, if you're passionate about something, you're gonna be pretty good at it. And so to be able to help kids find their passion and
Mhm.
it is huge. They're going to find some stuff they aren't very good at. And yeah, you could have been a lawyer. Think of how miserable you'd be. You you would hate being a lawyer. This is
Absolutely.
great lawyers. You would hate it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's get on to some courage questions.
Okay.
How do you define courage and why does it matter?
Uh, to me, courage is the ability to step beyond your fear. And yeah, I'm afraid, but I'm going to take that step anyway. It's the right thing to do. And it lies real close to bravery, but being brave, but because you can't be brave without fear either. And so, yeah, to me, it's just stepping beyond it.
And
And
why does it matter?
and it matters because there's so many situations in life that we're unsure of. To step beyond what's unsure of, what we're unsure of in general, takes guts. And you know, I failed out of college 3 times. Why would I go the fourth? Yeah, but you did. Yeah, I bet you were a little nervous going into that fourth time. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, and when I went in for my master's, I was walking up the stairs in a big old building at UNL.
Yeah.
And I got on the landing and my phone rang and it was my mom telling me that my grandpa had passed away.
Yeah.
So I hung up the phone and I walked down the stairs and I didn't walk back in for a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Because it just goes along with when we're looking for those signs that we're supposed to
Yeah.
fail, we choose to fail
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
instead of trying and then failing.
No, yeah. Failure just really is learning. Um,
Mhm.
I share with people that Jordan missed over at more shots than anybody else shot, and he led the league in missed shots every year,
Yeah.
and but had a little success along the way, and so, but it's just taking that to be able to encourage that courage in courage, to boost courage, um, to be able to be better than them, maybe even they think they can be.
Mhm. Yeah. And you're one of those people that I noticed because I'm a people watcher. So, of course, I watched you and I got to Colorado and watched your leadership. And you're one of those people that can help reflect back to people what they can't see in themselves.
Oh, well,
And
thank
when
you.
you talked about some of the speakers that you have and some of the volunteers, I saw you make that difference in their lives. And I think part of that dedication of coming back and volunteering or giving is because you help them see something in themselves that they weren't able to quite see yet. So thank you for that.
Oh,
Thank you for doing it.
you're welcome. Thank you for saying it. That's a huge compliment. And yeah,
Which goes right into my next question. What
yeah.
spark do you want to be in the world?
Um. So, and I saw that you're going to ask that question. The spark I want to be in the world is one who ignites love. Um,
Hmm.
and to me, that it all comes back to that. I talked about making sure every kid is seen, heard, and loved. And if the kid knows he's loved, they're going to be amazing. And if you can love your neighbor, if you can love the people around you, love the person that's impossible to love, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. And to be able to do that, it's now you've made a spark, and that spark will ignite a fire. And so it's the spark is huge. Though when you said spark, it made me think of I'm a history buff, and I have a flintlock pistol, and you pull the trigger, and it makes a spark. Well, that spark sets off a lot of things, and a little fire here, it sets up a big fire inside, which shoots that bullet out, and but it has to have the spark. And so my spark uh, will be as much as possible, just loving people that I'm with. You will they be able to say that Steve loves me?
Right.
And so my dad, who was an amazing guy, guidance counselor, great guy, but we didn't do a whole lot of I love yous at home, and until I got older, and of course we do it big time, and so my kids were always hugging and I love yous, and so he became a hugging I love you guy, because he was forced into it. But, he really loved people, but sometimes it's hard to become that person that says that, and so
Yeah,
that's. But to me, that if love can be your spark, you can do a whole lot of stuff.
absolutely. What will be better in the world because Steve was here?
Oh, thank you. That's the other thing is to ask yourself: is this room going to be better because I stepped into it, or worse because it's not going to be dead even?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So what will be better because you're here? Like, I know what
Um,
I'm gonna say. I would obviously say teacher morale, but I know
yeah.
there's more to that.
Mine is to make people know that because I love them and I'll invest in them, that they can do that to others as well. When I'm investing in the teacher, I'm investing in, if they're a high school teacher, 150 kids the next year that they're going to have in class. Or if they're an elementary teacher, I'm investing in the 26 kids they're going to have in that classroom next year. And so I get to love those kids through that teacher. And so that's really kind of the spark.
So Steve, what's next?
Um, what's next is probably going. Let's see, and I'm not a Sunday school teacher, but this is what I believe is God would have it that it's probably time to go national and do this at a more national level. And, but it's going to take some people whose gift is making money and want to make that difference by pouring into it. I don't know who those people are, where they are. I know who they are so far, and they've done a beautiful job of it. Unless we have Jason and Lisa Ingermanson, unless we have Greg Case, unless we have the Reeve Foundation, unless we have Donnie Young, we don't have these things happen. And so, who's going to be next? It can be Bill and Melinda Gates, as far as I care, but I just want to make sure that we can make as big a difference as we can. And
Is there anything else that you want to share with the podcast guests?
yeah, no, I thank you so much. Thank you for trusting me and coming. The first year there had to be a bunch of people trust to come because what could possibly be wrong with $50 for all that we, yeah, and it's like the group from Illinois that came and said they're a little worried about us back home that we're joining a cult. And so then we served Kool-Aid, but it's it's something that yeah, it's an honor to me when people honor me with their time because it's the most valuable thing they have. And so for people to come from 41 different states this next time, it was 31 states last year. Um, that to me, I'm honored that they would consider allowing me their time to be able to do that, and that includes you. And you came flying in here and had that, and you're starting to have a vision beyond where we are with teachers, possibly with nurses or those type of people. So I'm excited about all of that. I have no idea where it's going, but it, I'm not being brave, because I really have no fear on the thing.
Mhm.
It's not showing courage. I just assume we're going to be doing these things, and
Yeah. They always, one of my coaches, business coaches, said that you're only ever going to have the headlights illuminate as much as you can see because you couldn't believe or understand what is beyond that for you.
that is true. 18-year-old Steve had no idea where I was going, and we've had some fun. So it's been good. And, it can be life can bring some unbelievable pain, and and I've gone through some stuff even through all of this that Wild Heart has kept me going,
Yeah.
and I've had a few people that kept me going, and but it's but that purpose, that passion for those things can help overcome a whole lot of the pain that we tend to run into in life.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, thank you for being my guest today. I knew you were going to be a great guest, and you lived up to every expectation and beyond. Thank you
And,
so much.
it's an honor to be here.
Thank you for listening and being inspired to exercise your own courage muscle. Please leave us a rating on whatever platform you are listening. For even more, you can go to www.authormyday.com. Remember, you only have this one life, this one day, so always author your day. Thanks for listening to Pass It On, connecting soul to soul.